Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Llama Commerce Show. I'm your host, Brett Curry, lead strategist here at Classy Llama. And man, am I excited about today's show. We are talking about the annual Internet Retailer Hot 100 list, the list of the 100 most innovative retail companies. I've got a copy of the IR Hot 100 edition right here in front of me. For those watching the video, we're going to be diving in, highlighting 10 notable companies you should be watching, paying attention to, and learning from. So sharing some insights from 10 of the top 100, but I do encourage you to check out the whole edition. And so with me today is the man behind the magic of the Hot 100 list, and this guy's an editor of the list. He also runs the digital marketing coverage for Internet Retailer, both the print publication and online, covers online marketing. I hear, and we're gonna get some insights on how this list is compiled and why these 100 companies. So we'll get some insight into that. But I do hear this is like an annual process. It is an annual edition, but it takes a full year to put it all together, curate it, interview these companies, pull the insights together. So I am super excited to welcome to the show Zak Stambor. And Zak, how you doing, my friend? And welcome to the Llama Commerce Show.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited. You're in one of my favorite cities, downtown Chicago. Right now, you guys are right next to the Willis Tower, I hear. So beautiful part of Chicago.
Yeah, not so much today when it is snowy and rather dreary
Yeah,
outside, but
maybe beautiful is not the term you use for January in Chicago, so I
right.
probably misspoke a little bit there, but either way,
It's
very
a
cool
nice
city.
place to be, right? Yeah.
And so aside from, and just to give people a little bit of background, aside from creating amazing internet retailer e-commerce content, you also write for the Chicago Tribune, and you write on a pretty interesting topic. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I write about beer and spirits, which is like something that I've been doing for like 7 or 8 years. So it's an interesting space because it's really evolved over that time. And in the course of that time, Chicago went from having like literally, I think 3 or 4 breweries to now there are like more than I can even keep track of.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
we were talking about that pre-show that the trend of microbreweries is almost like the trend of these specialty coffee shops, right? And millennials or people in their 30s and 40s even really beginning to appreciate microbrews, specialty coffees. It's really an interesting scene.
oh yeah, and incredibly dynamic. To tie it all together, somewhat like e-commerce, where things are just constantly changing. And
Yeah.
the market is just dramatically changing, and there's consolidation, there's merger and acquisition, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but still, there's also the microbrews or e-commerce companies that have personality and have style and bring something more to the table than just the product. That's what a lot of people want. You know, it'd be really interesting. And this is just totally off the cuff, but doing an article about comparing a really good microbrewery to a really successful e-commerce business and seeing what they have in common. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's
So
a good idea.
there you go.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, hey, let's dive into the IR Hot 100. This is one of my favorite editions. Whenever we get this at the office, I look at it. I share with some of my team members. We go through and spitball and talk about some of the companies that made the list. But if you would, talk about how does a company make the list? Because it's not just the biggest e-commerce company. So how does one make the Hot 100 list?
Yeah, so it's a rather lengthy process. We basically, as soon as we close the issue, we start thinking about and brainstorming for the next issue. And then come August or so, we start sending nominations to me. And every editor here sends about like 20 or so retailers that are doing something interesting, that are doing something innovative, that are doing something that is unlike what else is out there, or are just doing something particularly well. And we also reach out to industry experts across the board, and we meet. We have a pretty big staff here. We have think it's like 17 or 18 editors between the research team and the editorial team. So we break into 4 teams and just start looking at sites, looking at what they're doing.
So you're talking about close to 400 sites that you guys are maybe looking at.
Yeah,
and
we're
trying to decide
spending,
between.
yeah, right, exactly. So that's why we break into teams, because it's a pretty long.
Do you guys get into fights, like where you say, no, this company's better, no, this one's better?
Not so much.
Okay, that's pretty good.
But it's, I mean, it's a lengthy process of just looking at a lot of stuff, looking at sites, looking at apps. There's just, even a few years ago, there wasn't as much to look at, you know.
Right, right.
It was more just pull open the site, see what the homepage looks like. What does the product page look like? What's the navigation like? And
right.
it was pretty simple. And now things are not quite so simple anymore. Everything is like actually pretty complicated. There's sites and there's apps, and then there's what are they doing on Pinterest? What are they doing on Instagram? And how does it all tie together? And, you know, so there's a lot of moving parts just in terms of what e-commerce and e-commerce operations are. And so that's kind of the things that we think about when we put together, nominate, and then like put together the list. And with that evolution of e-commerce and what e-commerce is and what it means and all that sort of stuff, we actually changed the issue this year. I don't know if you noticed or not.
I did notice, and I like it. I think it was a good change. Very
so
interesting.
it used to be focused primarily around design. Like, certainly there were retailers in which they had a very interesting business model and they found their way onto the list, or they just had tremendous growth and they found their way onto the list. But this, and we would organize the list according to merchant category.
Yeah.
But we came to the opinion that merchant category isn't quite as important or interesting as looking at what actually made the retailer hot and interesting.
Right.
And so we broke it into different sections that were focused around why is this retailer in here? And that enabled us to focus very squarely on that particular element or elements more generally when we wrote the short profiles that we have in the issue. So it's more tightly focused around what are they doing that's interesting or innovative and something that other retailers can learn from, or maybe just think about what they're doing in a different way.
Yeah, I love it. And so you've got to split into different categories like mobile. Who's doing mobile really well? Who's doing content marketing really well? Who has a unique business model? So who is just doing something unique and fresh in the online space? So who has unique site features or UX or design?
Right, exactly.
So I think, you know, one of the things that happens if you just listed all the apparel companies together and the electronic companies together and the B2B is that you wouldn't have as much sampling and people would gravitate towards, oh, I only want to look at the apparel sites or the gift sites or whatever. And with this, now you've got a reason to look at, hey, who is doing this thing really well that I want to do better? So yeah, I love it. I think it was a good move. Cool. So with that in mind, let's dive right in. So we picked out 10. So Zach and I met a couple weeks ago. We started, you know, arm wrestling over who should make this top 10 list. Actually, we didn't. We just said, hey, here's some really cool ones that we should talk about. And so let's dive in. So I'm going to tee these up for you, Zach, and I want you to tell us, hey, this is why we at Internet Retailer decided upon this site. I'll throw in some insights and we'll roll to the next one. So let's look at the first one. I love the spirit of this company and how they're doing business, and you'll get into the details here, but Boll and Branch, and that's BOLLAND branch.com. They sell organic and high-end linens and sheets and bedding and really cool stuff. So, Zach, what does Boll and Branch do really well, and why did they make the list?
Yeah, so they fell into the business model category, but really, you know, the categories are somewhat fluid because a retailer that has an interesting business model also may have a beautiful site or design.
Yep.
But in particular, so this retailer really has a beautiful site.
It is a beautiful site. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing that I think is particularly nice about this site is that it conveys what it is that differentiates the brand. It conveys that value proposition, or the mission, I guess is probably a better way to put it, because this brand or retailer is mission focused. You know, it's organic, it's free trade, and the site conveys that. And it's also like a lighthearted sort of site too, even though it's elegant and beautiful. Like there's a dog on the site. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, it really does a great job telling the brand story. And the brand story is interesting. They spend a lot of time sourcing where the materials are that they use to make these sheets and bedding and all that sort of stuff. And at the same time, they also pay heed to the fact that they sell online. And so there is that reluctance of some people, particularly with something like bedding, to buy it online. So they have a 30-day guarantee. It's like front and center right there, right above the fold on the homepage. So this site, they're pretty new, a relatively new retailer, but they're doing what they do really well.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about the 30-day free trial, because you're right, with something like bedding, you want to touch it and feel it and put it on your skin and know what the experience is gonna be like. And so rather than just saying 30-night guarantee, they say 30-night stand, right? So take this, try it out for 30 nights. They're creative in the way they present it, and they lay that out there. I do like the use of the dog. You know, you could think of, hey, let's create some sexy or sultry imagery with, we're selling bedding. But I like the dog. The dog's cute. Makes you want to look at the pictures and kind of consume the site. They also talk about, this idea, you talked about free trade, and they talk about throughout the whole supply chain, fair trade, taking care of employees. They talk about better lives, better products, which I really like. One thing as a marketer that I noticed, and this is interesting, like most successful sites, you land on bowlandbranch.com. It has the pop-up, save 30%, I think is what theirs says in this case. So save 30%, gives the coupon code, so you enter your email to get that. Once you hit enter, then your coupon goes to the upper left in the main header, and it stays there. Really hard to miss. It's there as a reminder, don't forget your 30% off. I think that's brilliant to try to get someone to consume or to make a purchase right out of the gate. So.
Well, it's also, again, it's elegant in terms of its simplicity. It's not in your face.
Right.
It's there as a constant reminder. And that's just something that I think is just throughout the site, through and through. It's elegant but approachable. Like the dog, for instance, to go back to that, the site could be hoity, but it isn't, because it makes it seem like more approachable. I think they do what they do really well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Very approachable, very fun. I mean, you would want to spend time on this site, and imagery's good. It's a responsive site, so it shows well on any device. So Bowl and Branch, check it out. Worth your time to look at. So next on the list is a site, and you and I talked about this one for a long time. I think it's because we both have young kids, and so it made sense to talk about it. But I love what they're doing. I love the people behind this one as well. But Primary.com. So talk about Primary, Zach, and why they made the list.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite retailer on the list, or among them, I should say, because I get what they're seeking to do. So this is a site that launched last year. It's founded by two veterans of Quidsy, which is the parent company of Diapers.com. And the idea behind it is to make it as easy to buy children's clothing as it is to buy diapers online, which you have young kids, I have young kids. Buying kids clothing is not as easy as it should be, especially if you don't want your kids clothing to be emblazoned with characters or obnoxious phrases or non-obnoxious phrases, just stuff.
Stuff like sassy or I talk back or whatever. I mean,
my wife and I like to dress our kids in rather, I don't want to say simple stuff, but non-character, non-phrase emblazoned apparel.
Sure.
To the mall, which if you go to the mall, fewer people are doing so. But if you go to the mall, you go in like any store and all the stuff is not just plain. You can't
Right.
find
Right.
stuff. So basics. They want to be the primary place you go for your children's clothing. So they sell t-shirts. They're plain t-shirts, but they come in burgundy, they come in yellow, they come in blue and green and purple and every color under the sun. Same thing with hoodies, same thing with pants and all, so on and so forth. And if you have kids like you and I do, you also know that your kids outgrow their clothes incredibly
Oh,
quickly.
so fast, crazy fast. It doesn't seem right.
Right. And so one of the things that they did that is just I know I'm saying simple and elegant solution a lot, and we're two retailers in, but a very simple, elegant solution they did was create something called My Closet, where they gather your previous purchases, show it in a very visual manner, the items hanging in a virtual closet, and you can see exactly what you bought. So, like, we actually just got a package from them, I think yesterday or the day before, because this is the aesthetic that my wife and I like. When I log in, I see the hoodie that my son got, the t-shirt, the long sleeve t-shirt, so on and so forth. And so when he outgrows it, or we just want to order another color, you go into this, it is denoted with a hanger icon in the top right corner of the site, I believe. But the My Closet section, and you can click, with a click, you can choose another color. With a click, you can choose another side, and it just makes it super easy to replenish these items, which again, they're supposed to be just the basics that your kid wears to preschool or school or whatnot. And it's so simple, but nobody else was doing this.
Yeah, super convenient. I mean, I think that's the way it is with most great ideas. You look at it and you think, oh man, why didn't other online merchants do that? Because I think this is a case of an online merchant realizing what's possible online, what's possible to do simply and easily, and something that's extremely useful that makes it more advantageous to buy online than it would be to buy in a store. And so I love the idea of the closet. Hey, the kid outgrows this long sleeve tee, and now you order the same thing in the bigger size. It's all in your closet. You just choose different color, different size, whatever. I think it's awesome.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And I also like the name primary color. It's the primary clothing. I think they did a really good job with that. So cool. Anything else on primary?
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So next up on the list, after primary, we'll kind of talk about these two together maybe, and if we need to differentiate, we can. I wanted to mention them both because I think they kind of sum up some really cool trends taking place with business models in e-commerce, but Blue Apron and then also Mantri. So you want to talk about both those are very similar, why they make the list, and what's unique about them.
Definitely. So Blue Apron is like the 800-pound gorilla in this space, and Mantri is like the little duckling, or
The challenger or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. But they're both seeking to do the same sort of thing, meal delivery. And meal delivery is one of these things, again, where at this sort of scale couldn't exist without the internet. Yes, you can go to Whole Foods, or you could order Seattle Sudden or something along those lines, but it doesn't have the same feel as this, which is both are seeking to do like chef-driven cuisine.
Yeah, farm fresh ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. So Blue Apron is just growing like it's going bonkers. I think they went from 1 million meal deliveries a month to 5 million last year, and a lot of that growth. Obviously, there's buying ads and doing all sorts of various things, but word of mouth is also like a huge piece of this, of people saying I made this really great thing, or people Instagramming I made this, and sharing that with their friends, and their friends tell their friends, and their friends tell their friends.
Sure.
Mantri, the thing that really stood out for us with Mantri is the app. It makes it super easy to, with a tap or two, to just select exactly what you want to have delivered. It's only in a few markets. I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's like 2 or 3 markets.
Yeah.
But they're growing slowly with the notion of, we want this to be local. We want this to be fresh. And so we're growing incrementally or slowly to enable us to do that without losing focus of what we're seeking to do. But the app just makes it super easy to choose, I want red curry, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can select exactly what you want. And they also do the same thing that like Tom's does and Warby Parker does, where they donate a meal.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So it can make you feel good about spending more on ingredients than you would even if you went to Whole Foods.
Right.
Which is what they're seeking to do.
Sure.
So,
yeah, but I'm paying a premium. I'm saving time. I'm contributing philanthropically and helping someone else with a meal. So there's lots of justification to pay that premium.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting with both of these, and I'm not buying these because you still have to cook them, but yet people want. But it gets at the heart of what people like to do. They like cooking. They don't like going to the grocery store.
Yep.
They don't like having to chop and do all the sorts of prep work that's involved, but they want a fresh cooked meal. And so like this enables you to do that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, one of my least favorite things to do is to go to the grocery store, and I try to avoid it. But I'll go in with a list, and I'm just like, if anybody's watching me on surveillance, like, what is wrong with this guy? I go to the back of the store, the front of the store, back to the back, to the front, because I don't know where anything is, and so I'm just a blundering idiot.
Yeah, but I actually love going to the grocery store. It's like one of those things I like really enjoy it. I like cooking. I like the whole thing of it. But most people are not like me, and that's what these 2 retailers get at the heart of that.
Yeah, and one of the things I think is interesting about Blue Apron, and you look for little things, and I think the best companies just do lots of little things really well. But if you look at the buttons, like the call to action buttons on Blue Apron, so there's one where it's got the content delivery and all this stuff, and then the button says get cooking. Right, so we're going to get cooking. I love buttons that are creative like that, because I think one of the worst things you can do is just leave the default submit, or whatever. So I like that. I thought that was a nice small touch, but it all adds up.
I totally agree. And it's one thing to do things for the sake of doing things, or when it distracts. But here it like serves the purpose and actually does a better job than like you just hit submit.
Submit. How lame is that? But yeah, I want to get cooking. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to start cooking. I want to make this thing happen. I want to have this experience in my kitchen that's fantastic. And so Blue Apron and Mantri, well deserved, I think, to be on the list. So now it's interesting, and this is something that you brought up pretty early on in our prep call that I was kind of surprised by. These next 2 companies I didn't expect to be on the list necessarily. Maybe didn't seem initially as compelling to me as somebody brand new, but let's talk about it, because these are 2 big companies, but they're really doing some cool stuff online. So let's talk about the first one, and that's Macys. So why did Macys make the list?
Yeah, so this is probably going to be the most controversial retailer on of the 100, because Macys is not doing that well, right? I mean, they're closing stores. They had a rough holiday season, all that sort of stuff. But we're focused online on e-commerce.
Yep.
So you have to frame it around that context. And in that context, Macys, which is a giant behemoth that's been around since, I don't know, 1850 something? Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's 1854, but I might have just made that up.
Sounds good.
But, they grew 30% in 2014. We We'll see very soon what their 2015 numbers were, but their e-com for a retailer that is like in the top 10 in Internet Retailer Top 500, to grow
30% is a huge percent for a company that big.
growth rate. And so you have to look at like what's accounting for that. And part of that is marketing. They're doing really interesting things in terms of marketing and experimentation. I have a story today on internetretailer.com. For instance, looking at how Macys is trying to figure out how do you measure branding ads? Like, it's one thing, direct response ads, that's easy, you know.
Sure.
Even if you can look at last click, which, you know, last click's not the best way to measure stuff, but it is a clear way to measure stuff.
Yeah, it only tells part of the story. It's a compelling part of the story, but it only tells part of it.
But it's something. You know, like branding ads are way more mysterious. Like, and so they're working with Facebook and trying to figure out like how you figure out what it is that and how people react to Instagram ads or Facebook ads that don't seek to drive a clear action, that aren't seeking to drive you to download their app or hit buy or take you to their site. Just, you know, a video, for instance. And so they're spending a lot of time and energy seeking to figure it out. And so that's really interesting. But they're also doing some interesting things in terms of omni-channel efforts. And omni-channel is one of these words that, you know, it's a buzzword.
The ultimate buzzword, yes.
We always question, like, what does that really mean? But, you know, there is something to creating one experience of linking the stores to the web in a way that makes sense to a consumer. Because a consumer never thinks about, I'm online, I'm in a store, I'm on my phone. I don't think that way. I'm sure you don't think that way.
No consumer ever said, I'm looking for a business that's omni-channel.
Channels don't make sense.
They just want to buy. They want to buy in an easy way, right?
People don't think in terms of channels. Channels are something that it's inside baseball. And so the more that retailers can get out of that inside baseball mindset and just think the way that people actually think, the better. And so so using their stores as fulfillment centers, they offer same-day delivery in 17 cities that rolled out last year. And, you know, they're doing various other initiatives linking the store to the website and making it easy for people to navigate between the two. And so that's how they made it onto the list. But the growth rate in particular is just like something that you can't
phenomenal,
even in the face of everything else, which is, you know, not so promising.
Sure. And who knows what the future holds ultimately, but that's impressive growth, and they are making a real go at it online, and so good luck to them. Next one on the list, also a big one, Nordstrom. So talk about Nordstrom and what's interesting there, why'd they make the list?
Yeah, so it's a similar sort of story, although Nordstrom has been doing much better.
Sure.
In terms of the broader landscape of things than Macys. But Nordstrom has gotten really serious about spending money on technology to create these links and create a more consistent experience between stores and the web, and again, working with people or working to make their brand and their business work in a way that people think, not channel specific. So what I mean by that is like they're giving the associates texting tools. I off the top of my head, I can't recall what it is exactly, but like, so you're browsing in the store, working with an associate because you want this particular handbag or this particular pair of shoes. They don't have it in the store. It makes it very easy for them to then text you. You can then buy it online, or you could buy it with them. You know, it doesn't matter how or why you buy it or where you buy it, I mean, rather than just the fact that you buy it with them, which, you know, it's breaking out of the channels. Channels don't matter to most consumers. So they've spent a tremendous amount of money. I think it's like $1.2 billion on various initiatives of this ilk, omni-channel efforts in this broad manner of speaking. And so like among those things is they upgraded their mobile site. revamped their checkout to streamline it and make it easier. And the net result is, like, if you just look at the mobile sales, they're doing tremendously well on mobile. I think they had like $406 million in mobile sales last year. So, the numbers speak for themselves.
Nordstrom, very interesting. Next up on the list is David's Bridal. Talk to me about David's Bridal.
So David's Bridal is one of these interesting ones where they're looking at omni-channel, and they're looking at omni-channel in a way that makes sense to the broader business, not narrowly focused around like, we need to drive people to buy on their phone. So their app doesn't try to drive the sale, just tries to get you to sign up for an appointment to go into the store. And the reason that they want that is like 70% of people who sign up for an appointment actually go into the store and use that appointment. 60% of those buy. And so just streamlining the process via an app makes a whole lot of sense. And we thought was like really interesting in a different way of thinking about what an app is good for.
Yeah, and not asking the app to do too much, but asking it to do exactly what it does very, very well, and that's browsing and shopping. Like, I want to view these dresses. I want to look at those, and okay, hey, I found a few that interest me. Now let's set that appointment and see if these are going to work.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Okay, awesome. So next, this is one that I really liked. I like what they do with marketing and their approach to social media. But that's Stronger RX. So StrongerRx.com. They sell workout gear, workout of the day apparel for CrossFitters and other crazy workout people. But talk about that. And I know I suggested this one, so I'll chime in a little bit too. But why did Stronger RX make the list? What do they do well?
Yeah, it's content. It's that simple. They use content really well. They use YouTube ads or YouTube videos, I should say, to show sports events and build brand and name recognition. And they're a small retailer that understands their niche and understands like what will appeal to their audience or their customer base or prospective customer base. And so like it's working. I think it's 31% growth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's substantial, and that's one of the things that I love. That they're sponsoring athletes that are competing in these CrossFit type sporting events.
Which is like, sponsoring an athlete is not something that you would expect from like a small brand.
Right. But I mean, they're taking a page from Nike and others, but they're doing it in a way that makes sense. So sponsoring a CrossFit athlete is much different than sponsoring an NBA athlete, but the principle still holds true. So if there's this person that I look up to that's competing in this CrossFit sport, and I know they're using Stronger RX gear and talking about that, then that's a great way to introduce me to that brand. And I'm not in that community, but certainly do respect it. So Stronger RX, check it out. Check out their YouTube channel. Look at their blog. Look at what they're doing from a content marketing perspective. It's very interesting. Next one, and this one was fascinating to me. It's only available in a couple of cities. It's sort of in startup mode, so who knows what's going to happen. But I think it's very smart, and I think regardless of how successful this company is, it's showing a bit of the future of what e-commerce looks like. But Enjoy. So ENJOY.com. Enjoy. Talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, Ron Johnson is back. Ron Johnson, if you don't recall, is the man behind Target Getting Cool. He's the guy behind the Apple Store, and he's also the man behind the utter failure to reinvent JCPenney.
Right.
And so now he's trying to do something different with e-commerce, which is, I don't know if you have bought like Sonos speakers or anything like that is like really kind of complicated to set up. So it's one thing to buy it. It's another thing to like set it up and get it to work correctly. And so the idea behind Enjoy is you buy it from them. They have somebody come and actually like set it up for you and get it all working. And that's just something different. They're seeking to not just make it an e-commerce transaction, but more of like an e-commerce experience. And so like that alone, just in rethinking what e-commerce is and can be is what got them on the list.
Yeah, and it's so cool. So you got the e-commerce shopping experience, so very easy to buy on a mobile device or desktop. So the shopping process is super easy, has all the benefits of e-commerce. but now it's delivered same day potentially. It's only available in a handful of cities, but it's delivered the same day, and it's also delivered by somebody that knows what they're doing, and they can show you not only how to install it, but how to use it. Because I think that's a barrier, right? Someone wants to buy a new MacBook, or they want to buy Sonos speakers or a GoPro camera, but they're a little bit uncertain about how to use it. And if they could just get a tutorial, they'd happily buy. And so Enjoy is really kind of trying to connect that, where all the benefits of e-commerce, some of the tangible benefits of shopping in a store where you get to talk to an expert potentially, but now they're coming to you. So hey,
Right.
I'm rooting for them. I hope it works.
Store. It's
better, yeah.
Because it's set up in your house. So yeah, a really interesting retailer.
Yep. So keep an eye on them. I'm really excited to see how that evolves and grows. And so this last one that we picked, and again, I encourage you, go check out the full list of 100, read about it, share it with your team. It's fantastic stuff. But the next one, I've been hearing a lot about this brand, and I actually was just telling our producer, Jesse, who he's a huge fanboy of this brand. I actually just got one of these watches for my birthday. So, but Shinola. So Shinola watches, based in Detroit, trying to revitalize USA manufacturing. So talk a little bit about Shinola, why they made the list, what makes them unique.
Yeah, so in a way, you kind of just summed up what is because the thing about Shinola is it's very much a brand story sort of company, or of a luxury brand in particular. The whole notion of what the brand is very much tied to Detroit. It's tied to the people making the products. And so they feature those products on the website and tell that brand story on the website. And it's a really sleek, elegant, cool site that fits the aesthetic of the brand as well. So it does a really good job communicating that notion of what the brand is and they're seeking for it to be.
Yeah, and I'm kicking myself for not bringing it. I was talking to Jesse about this, but the presentation, so it comes in the watch comes in a wooden box. It's got Shinola on the front of it, kind of etched into the wood. You open that up, and on the top, there's kind of this booklet that's got the brand story and care and stuff like that. But on the cover of it, it shows who made the watch. So it gives the name of the employee that made the watch, which is really cool. And then they tell the employees' stories on the site. It also came with this little Shinola branded leather care ointment, or lotion that you put on the leather. It tells the story of the tanner they use for oil and how they create the precision watches, and also the bicycles, which I don't really know anything about those, and just a very cool brand. I mean, younger millennials, which I'm not, but millennials are digging Shinola. It's really, I love what they're doing for Detroit. I love what they're doing as a brand. This is more about the brand story, but the online experience is very good as well. So the shopping experience is good, really ties in with the whole brand. So
well, and it gets to the heart of communicating that notion, the brand notion, whether you're on the site, whether you get the item, as a gift, which has nothing to do with the website. People don't think in terms of a website or whatnot. It's just the brand. And so they really get that.
Yes, totally get it. Awesome. Well, Zach, I know we could have spent a lot more time on each one of these. We went a little bit over, but I think it was well worth it. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime. Again, everybody recommend you check out Internet Retailer, the Hot 100 list. Get the print copy or the online copy, whichever you prefer. Zach, it's been fantastic. How can people stay connected with you? So if they want to read more of your awesome work, if they want to follow you on Twitter, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at ZakStambor. Or you could read me at internetretailer.com.
Check it out, internetretailer.com. Zak Stambor. Zach, it's been fantastic. Really appreciate it. We'll have to do it again sometime. And with that, everybody, let us know what you think. What would you like to see more of, less of? And until next time, stay classy.
Thanks.